Chairman and Mr. Dorsey, appreciate you coming, and as others have said, we are welcoming your testimony and your willingness to answer some of these questions. And I think there are serious concerns more than anything about how Twitter has been used and will continue to be used, and clearly there's many examples of things that Twitter has done, and you can just look at the Arab Spring. Many people would suggest that a lot of the real ability for the Arab Spring to take off started with platforms like Twitter. And in 2009, you were banned in Iran, and we've seen other countries, China, North Korea, have banned Twitter. And I would imagine when Twitter was banned, it wasn't a good feeling. But what we're concerned about is how Twitter has, in some ways, looks like selectively adversely affected conservatives. I want to go through a couple of examples, and I would imagine you're familiar with these, but our colleague, Marsha Blackburn, when she announced her campaign for the Senate, Twitter quickly banned her announcement advertisement because it had a pro-life message. She, at the time, was the chair of the Special Select Committee that a number of my colleagues, both Republican and Democrat, here were on, that were looking into the sale of body parts. And Twitter banned her because they said this statement was deemed an inflammatory statement that is likely to evoke a strong negative reaction. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Why was she banned for just stating a fact that Congress was actually investigating because of the deep concern nationally when the scandal took place?
Well, first, this was a mistake, and we do apologize.
This was a mistake by Twitter.
It was a mistake by Twitter. It was a mistake by us, which we corrected.
So was anybody held accountable for that mistake?
What do you mean by that?
Well, somebody, I mean, there was a spokesperson here that said, we deem it inflammatory. Twitter deems it inflammatory. And at the same time, the organization that was selling the body parts was not banned by Twitter, but our colleague who just exposed the fact that the sale of body parts was going on was banned by Twitter. And one of your own spokespersons said that it was inflammatory. Was that person held accountable for making those kind of statements?
We use these events and these opportunities to improve our process. And
we've talked about that, and obviously I appreciate the fact that you've acknowledged that there have been some mistakes made in algorithms, and we've talked about this with other companies. Facebook was in here talking about similar concerns that we had with their algorithm and how we felt it might have biased against conservatives. A liberal website, Vice, did a study of all members of Congress, all 535, and they identified only 3 that they felt were targeted in the shadow banning, and that was Reps Meadows, Jordan, and Gates. And I know while I think Mr. Barton was trying to get into this in more detail, if there were 600,000, ultimately they did a study and found only 3 members of Congress were biased against, and all 3 happened to be conservatives. And so can you at least see that that is a concern that a lot of us have if there is a real bias in the algorithm as it was developed? And look, I've written algorithms before. So if somebody wrote an algorithm with a bias against conservatives, I would hope you are trying to find out who those people are and if they're using their own personal viewpoints to discriminate against certain people. Because if it's your stated intention that you don't want that discrimination to take place, I would hope that you would want to know if there are people working for Twitter that did have that kind of discriminatory viewpoint against conservatives, that you would at least hold them accountable so that it doesn't happen again.
I would want to know that, and I assure you that the algorithm was not written with that intention. The signal that we were using caught people up in it, and it was a signal that we determined was not relevant and also not fair in this particular case. And there will be times, and this is where we need to experiment, as you know, in writing algorithms in the past, that you need to test things and see if they work at scale and pull them back correctly if they don't. And
but also you shouldn't inject your own personal viewpoint into that unless that's the intention of the company, but you're saying it's not.
That is not the intention, and they should never be injected.
And I know I'm out of time, but I appreciate at least your answering these questions. Hopefully we can get some more answers to these examples, and there are others like this that we'd surely like to have addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back.
Chair now.